Hi Timna, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And yourself?
I'm awesome. I got a couple of your emails, regarding the group assignment you all are doing now. Would you do you perhaps want to talk about the questions you asked me earlier so I could maybe provide clarity?
Oh, yes. With regards to the group assignments that you
Mm,
gave us, I feel like it was a very creative way of getting the class and the lecture people
mm,
to actually integrate and talk to each other, because talking to each other is not something that we do. We sit next to each other every day,
mm,
and we don't actually know each other. We don't actually get to know each other.
mm.
So what was the initiative behind that?
Oh, okay. We had talked about this in class, but maybe I could touch a bit on it.
Mm,
Yeah. First of all, when I was a student here, when I was studying here at EWC, I kind of noticed that the colored students would sit together,
mm,
the black students would sit together, they would sit in clusters and everything. And it was a little difficult for people to, basically just make friends and talk to each other. And then when I started teaching, I noticed the same pattern. So I decided that as a sociologist, right, we know that economic capital is good, but social capital actually is very, very good. It's better in a way, right? It's
mm,
good to have money, but it's also good to know that when you're sick, you have people whom you can borrow money from, so to speak. So I decided that my sociology class would inculcate that, you understand, in our assessment, you understand, to ensure that students not only pass through the school or the university, that the university also passes them, and that they also get to know each other and also be able to work together as a team. Now, we all know the history of South Africa. South Africa is the rainbow nation, the history of apartheid and all of that. So a lot of students come in with preconceived notions. The
mm,
black students are suspicious of the white students are suspicious of the colored, and so forth. And then don't get me started on the international students. They all just come in, and just sit as outcasts. So it becomes imperative, you understand, for us to enable the students to form social capital, to get to know other people and to be able to work as a team, because teamwork, the world of work, you understand, is actually changing. And studies have shown that soft skills are in high demand, and part of the soft skill that this model is actually interested in teaching students is, the ability to be able to work as a team,
yes.
to help them develop people skill, and to be able to develop emotional intelligence. Because if you do not, it's okay to be able to work alone. I mean, we all should are basically able to do that, right? But it takes a lot of emotional intelligence, discipline, and self-control to be able to work with people who are different from you.
Mm,
And if you look at, we have a rainbow nation. The colored people would come in with their baggage and their different way of life. The international students, the same thing, So this model was just a way of me of getting students, to be able to work together and to learn some of these soft skills. Now, beyond that, we've had this decolonization drive recently, and I wanted also to be able to get the students to participate in generating or producing knowledge, that resonates from their lived realities and experiences, right? Now, if you look at some of the literatures we have, you notice that most of them are from other countries. They are from the West, right? Some of the statistics we did on social determinants of health, I had to cite data from the CDC, the US Center for Disease Control. Now, compared to what we have from Statistics South Africa, if you look at Nigeria doesn't really have much data, on human development and all of that. We have to now rely on WHO or UN data. So what I wanted to do with the groups I did was for us to all to be able to come together, right, to generate a multiple lens, you understand, of looking at social determinants of health, particularly from not just an African country, but from South African context. We have the coloreds, the blacks, the whites, and beyond the racial segregation or groups, we also have the socioeconomic groups. Now, the middle class make up about 13.7% of South Africans, which is about 4.3 million, and of course the high income earners are just the top 1%. You understand? And then the rest of the people are like 80%. But how many people do understand, how many white students understand the realities of those black people? How many black people understand how colored middle class do health? No, they don't. If from the questions you guys answer in class, you would have seen that a lot of people do not know those things. So that was also part of what I wanted to do, for us to understand that, yes, we might be different, but our problems could actually be similar. While it is not okay to make generalizations, we could learn lessons. We could also produce the kind of knowledge, or generate the kind of knowledge from that people from the West can literally, just use to draw context, other than them just imposing things on us, or just looking at our own, using their realities, you understand, or social lens to look at our own or judge our own realities. So that was what I just wanted to do. It was also part of the decolonization drive, right? To enable everybody, you guys, contribute to it, and and basically just use your sociological imagination to understand what various people from other social contexts are experiencing, without you necessarily having to be poor. I mean, right? I'm sure right now, which one is your family? What is your pretend family?
My pretend family is the low-income Indian family.
So now you, through research, you're able to understand what a low-income Indian family, you understand how a low-income family experience health in South Africa, right? What their constraints are and what the barriers are, right? So that was just it.
And another question that I personally would love to ask you is, why did you choose sociology of health, and what drove your passion into the sociology of health?
So I felt like there was more that needed to be done, and that development studies didn't provide me the platform, you understand, to do that. Then I looked towards sociology. Now, why sociology? Sociology has a lot of sub-disciplines. Sociology is like, that place that enables you, that platform that enables you to be whatever you want to be and be whoever you want to be. You understand, in sociology, if you want to do politics in sociology, you can. We have sociology of technology, we have sociology of law, we have sociology of sociology of health, which is medical sociology. We have sociology of politics. We have gender. We have agriculture. We have sociology of development. You see, so sociology. So without necessarily moving into mainstream development, sociology provided me a platform through which I can do further research, understand, on development and and social transformation, social change, without necessarily stepping out of the discipline, you understand. So sociology provided me that platform, so, and I chose health. Why did I choose health? Because we cannot do anything without health, you understand, whether we like it or not. If you want to, you cannot have a good labor force who are unhealthy. If your labor force is unhealthy, then it's going to affect your GDP. Do you understand? So I felt like I needed to focus on something that enable me to contribute to the development, of Africa. And health the health is key. Everybody, we all, no matter how wealthy you are, if you're unhealthy, or if you're ill, then you're not going to be able to go out there and continue the grind, right? So I felt like health, you understand, was at the center of everything we do as human beings, as an Africans, right? So, and that it will provide me, and the sociology will provide me with tools that will enable me to ask the right questions and get the right answers in Africa. So that was it.
After a few weeks in this course, what I've learned something new about health. And what I've learned is that health is intimate, it's sensitive, and it's personal. It's very, I noticed in lectures sometimes it gets really intense because people have different experiences of health, and people have different perspectives of health, and we all experience health in a different way. And this module has become something that's very intimate and sensitive, and to me, I'm sure to the rest of the people
Thank you.
in the module, because you learn different things about different people. And I remember you asked if wine is a rich people thing.
Okay.
And then I said that wine is not a rich people thing,
Yeah.
because you get things like igomla that people drink in the township, and it's actually a wine, and it's cheap wine that people drink. And it also goes back to where are these wines manufactured, and why does it do this to the people? And it also affects people's health as well.
Wow. Okay. The thing is, right? If you looked at when the groups were having their presentation, right?
Yes.
We had seen tax, and all of that. So you cannot control a human being's predilections and proclivities. We will all have that one vice that we lean towards, right? So for some people, it could be drinking. Now you ask yourself, the problem is why do people drink? The problem is not the fact that there are wines or cheap wines or expensive wines, right? The problem is, why do people want to drink wine? People drink wine when they are happy, when they want to celebrate. You just graduated, let's pop champagne. You get the Dom Perignon and the Moet and all of the rest of them, right? And then when people are sad, they go to wine too. Exactly. Now the problem is not the wine in itself, right? Because if you look at wine is just made out of grapes, right? The problem is, why do people distress us when we start looking at wines within the impact of wine within the context of social distribution of illness or social patterns of illness, and how wine becomes a disease manufacturer, or alcohol, the alcoholic content of wine, right, becomes an enabler, a disease manufacturer. Remember, we talked about disease manufacturers in our motto, right? Now that's when you begin to ask, why do people drink too much alcohol to the extent that it affects their life expectancy? It becomes a risk factor for them, you understand? So if for people who are genetically inclined, you understand, towards a particular illness, and then it multiplies it, you understand, and makes them really, really open to those illnesses, right? So why do people drink? For some people, drinking is a place they go to, right? When they are stressed out, you heard the response in class, right? And we really got to discover a lot of things in class that for most low-income people, the working class, that they are actually being paid. You heard that? What did that person say? She said that that it was a form that they were paid with alcohol, yes, right? Yes, they weren't given their paycheck. They were given alcohol. So that means that their socioeconomic status and the kind of jobs they did, you understand, contributed to drinking too. Now, at what point do we delineate, or do we really say that there are structures in the society, yes, you understand, yes, that enable this? But now, then again, you ask yourself, can those people say no? Can they say no? Or do they enjoy the wine? Are they now enjoying their chains? Or can they use their human agency to say, nope, we do not want the alcohol? Do you understand? These are some of the questions that I hope that we are able to really answer in class. In as much as we have structural issues or societal issues that, living and working conditions that impact on health negatively, I also believe that as Anthony Giddens said it, that every human being has an agency. You cannot, Ryan Holiday, a writer I've been reading recently, reading his work, Ego is the Enemy. I've been reading it a lot, and he said something that I like. He said, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you react, or whether you react or respond to it. And I'm inclined to think that rather than react, we should always strive to respond to things as individuals. Yes, we are aware of the history of apartheid. Yes, we know how divided this country is in terms of inequality and all of that. But how are people contributing? How are people aiding and abating the structural issues, you understand, that prevent them from accessing health and healthcare? How are people enabling those constraining factors? How are people literally killing themselves? We know you're unable to do exercise because of the insecurity issues in your neighborhood. But why would you keep drinking? Yes, somebody said that at some point it becomes the only thing they know, but we all have an agency too, yes, right? Yes. So we can literally choose to. I as a development practitioner, I know that we have poverty traps. People who eat bread, who live on below $2 a day, and they really, really, have to. For them, poverty is just absolute, because they know nothing else other than the bread they eat, and there's really nothing they can do right about it.
I also read in an anthropology reading that people actually went, when they heard that social grant was given out to people that have things like HIV, yeah, and tuberculosis, yeah, people actually went and got themselves the diseases and viruses. And that's also kind of sensitive in a way that poverty actually leads people to do these kind of things, to get themselves diseases and viruses in order for them to live.
I know, yes, which is why poverty is a very sensitive issue. You see how incensed most of the students are when we talk about poverty, right? It is okay to talk about other people's lived realities in an abstract manner, especially if you've not experienced it. But when push comes to shove and you're confronted by those same realities, we respond differently. And I guess that's what you're saying now. If for someone who has spent 2 or 3 days, not having access to any kind of food, and you gave them the option of just going to contract TB or whatever just so they can get food, I don't know what I would do if I found myself in such a situation. But I'm inclined to think that sometimes when people are hungry, it's difficult for them to think rationally, right? Yeah, so that's what you get. So I think that is why this model, Sociology of Health, is important. It's not just a platform where we get to discuss the problems. It's a platform where we familiarize ourselves with the issues, and then we find a way forward. You understand? We see what each person can do and how each person can contribute from where they are. You understand? To the way forward, to a sustainable solution. Not just sitting down in class and getting upset, right? And talking about what other people are not doing. How are we as individuals and as Africans, first of all, contributing to changing our narratives? You understand? How are we? Yes, our backs are against the wall, but to what extent are we contributing to it? How are we helping? How are you now, as a sociology major, helping? Are you sensitizing people in your neighbor? Are you telling people that it is not that you can literally just, instead of taking a taxi to that short distance, that you can walk? Remember I said in class that when you are broke and then you have to work, you can swear at your ancestors and curse your ancestors. But when you have money, you could literally just walk and it's fine. So we need to, sometimes all we need to do is just alter the way we look at things, and the things we look at changes. And sometimes what we think is poverty might not really be poverty.